Today, I'm going to give you a misreading of Kierkegaard. Because this slightly obscure Danish theologian writing in the end of the 19th century unintentionally put his finger on one of the great problems of our world. But let's start off with the good stuff. This is going to be based on one ecstatic of essay on Kierkegaard, his essay on Abraham. Kierkegaard starts off with a real point. What, he says, if the world is really as it seems to be? Darkness and sorrow, with no glimmering light at the end. What then? That is clearly unthinkable, so humans have refused to think it. They have created for themselves great leaders, heroes, men of myth, like Agamemnon. Men who were capable of sacrificing their daughter, although it broke their heart, for power. Men who would commit murder in order to be a great king. These then are the great father figures, Kierkegaard says, of our imagination. And yet, in human history, there is a very different would-be child murderer, sacrificer to a god, Abraham. Because unlike Agamemnon, Abraham was not sacrificing Isaac for any reason. He was sacrificing him simply as a matter of faith, because a God whose purpose and power he didn't understand had asked him to do it. Where Agamemnon would be praised for his sacrifice of his daughter, Isaac would merely be condemned as a nut. And yet it was Abraham. And yet it was Abraham's sacrifice of Isaac, his wrestling with the ineffable, his grappling with God, that changed God, that made God have compassion for humans. Abraham then, through his simple faith, changed the very pattern and power of creation. Now, it's very beautiful. What has this got to do with modern politics, I hear you ask? After all, these are philosophers talk to our times. Well, for me, this basic divide between hero and knight of faith has become one of those queer, odd divides in modern society between those who we might call the billionaire class, those who really have a lot of money and who kind of need to hide who and what they're doing in order to justify that, from how they would want the rest of us to believe. You see, if you listen to a TED talk of any of the rich, they'll be forever full of vision. This is the world of Elizabeth Holmes. This is the world of scam. This is the world, then, where they're talking about their belief in their product and how it would change the world, but it is just a belief. It's as if they're demanding the world to change. They sell themselves, then, as some kind of latter-day knights of faith, men animated, prepared to take a chance against all reason. And yet, often enough, they're not knights of faith. They're merely heroes, prepared to sacrifice their daughters for power, with rich backers, as King Agamemnon had rich backers and rich friends. They start off, then, always in a position of power. They'll sell the myth of how they came from nowhere, but Daddy owns an emerald mine. That's not nowhere. Or they have endless rich parental backing. The point is, then, these modern-day Agamemnons, happy to sacrifice Ipegia for power, sell themselves as something else. They sell themselves as knights of faith. But worse than that, our society would have us believe, the small guys, I'm about to be jumped at, maybe, that we were knights of faith. That we were heroes. That all we had to be, like Agamemnon, was sacrifice the days of our lives. All we had to be was to sacrifice the very poor, those on unemployment benefit, who we pay for. And somehow, our world would be better. Work hard, we're told. Be like heroes working. Don't be like this dog jumping at me. Can you see her down there? There she is, having a good old jump. Anyway, that's totally beside the point. Do not be like this dog, and everything will come good for you. Sacrifice then to the gods. Honour those in power, and they will treat you well. And so, an entire myth where you are counselled to sacrifice everybody who is somehow less fortunate than you, and all the hours of your life becomes the dominant myth. For instance, in France at the moment, they're trying to persuade the workers that their poverty lies in unemployment, in the chômage, in the unemployment benefit. That all they have to do is cut unemployment benefit, and everybody will become somehow magically wealthier. Sacrifice Iphigenia, and you can sail to Ilium. But of course, it isn't true. As the good French commentators point out, the chômeurs and the poor workers, they're on the same side. Because it is only the existence of the unemployment benefit that allows workers to leave jobs where workers have become utterly exploitative. You get rid of unemployment benefit, you turn masters into slave masters. And that's the point. This is a sacrifice then, actually against the interest of those who are being asked to make it. They're being told they would be heroes, but all they'd be is knights of faith, taking upon a punt on a god that wasn't listening. Sacrifice then the days of their lives, sacrificing then the poor. For what? To gain favour with the gods? The great gods of capitalism who don't give a fudge about them? That's it. Leaders sell themselves as knights of faith, but are rather heroes, scrambling on top of each other, whipping their soldiers into war. While workers are told that they are heroes, but really they're merely taking a punt upon a future and a God that knows no shame. Unwittingly, poor old Kierkegaard puts his finger on one of the problems, the deep problems, with the way we understand the world. I think he would hate that fact. I'm sorry, Kierkegaard, but there you go.